Stand up for yourself, and I'll back you up. 'Cause problems don't solve themselves. I'll tell you what, instead of would or could, I think you should draw a line in the sand and stand your ground. It's for your own good.
Hello, my name is Roy Poyan, and my co-host is joining me today is Rex the Renaissance Man.
Peace.
And we want to welcome you to another episode of The Voice of Families and Addiction. And in today's, we're looking at the 7 habits of highly effective people, and specifically, we're looking at habit number 6, which is the synergy.
Yes, a very interesting topic.
Topic of synergy, yeah. This is, I mean, when you talk about things like racism and generations of understanding how people collaborated to achieve a greater end goal,
Right.
We're constantly in a state of seeking synergies. So let's dive into this topic because
Definitely.
I think it has so many applications to so many different parts of our life.
Yeah.
What is your thought when you read this? And we'll go high and then we'll dig deeper as we talk about synergy.
Okay. Well, leading into synergy, of course, we came out of the win-win, win-lose, so on and so forth. What I got out of it was, first, don't listen to respond, listen to understand.
Okay.
That way, both sides are considerate of each other's opinions and thoughts.
Yes.
But when it came to synergy, I knew, I want to say this in the best way possible. It is just a synonym for interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it really is being able to have a common ground with the person that you are collaborating with. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's okay if you have to say, this is a no deal.
Right.
If certain things don't work out. But when I looked into it, there were certain parts of it that I had to highlight.
What page are you on, just for?
So to start off, for people that really don't know what synergy is, I'm actually on page 262.
Thank you.
And it defines synergy. It means the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It means that the relationship which the parts have to each other is a part of itself.
Right.
So it's when ideas come together, they collaborate under one understanding, one agreement.
Uh-huh.
Then,
now wait a second.
go ahead.
You're a black man. I'm
Yeah.
a white man. You
Okay.
come from a black culture. I come from a white culture.
Mm-hmm.
How can we possibly have alike, ways of looking at things? We came from two different filters, two different experiences.
It's because what we're doing right now is we want to understand each other in order for us to come up with some form of a solution
Okay.
or an understanding.
So that commonness and synergy is the desire.
Right.
Interesting.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
So
Gee, I wonder where the desire comes from.
it's
Didn't mean to do that to you, but I did.
it's all cool because it requires a person to put their ego and their pride aside in order to get what they're looking for.
So they need to understand what they're looking for before they get into this
Yes.
whole concept of public victory.
Yes.
Which is what private victory supposedly, those three habits allows us to accumulate.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, it even says that, many of us have been trained to just be defensive, and it starts with like business. So, for instance, I'm in a period of my life where there are offers, there are opportunities out there for me.
Right.
But is it necessary for me to call a lawyer right now? No, because it blocks the creativity between, me and the other party.
Right.
And that's exactly what this chapter was about. Is don't be so protective of your ideas.
Okay.
Continue to create, continue to collaborate, because you could come up with so much more when there's less tension in the room.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like that's in the black community. I'm gonna say it like this: is we're always trying to protect something.
Well, I bet you feel I really, it's probably inappropriate for me for even to say it. I mean, I'm not you.
Yeah.
But in a similar way, when I'm vulnerable, I get more protected.
Definitely.
But when I'm vulnerable, typically is when I need more collaboration, more synergy. So you're right. I'm working against myself by protecting myself instead of remaining vulnerable in a safe way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand why people are protective, because some people have hidden agendas.
A lot of people. I mean, let's just face it. They all do. Everybody's got a hidden
Definitely.
agenda. Positive, negative, for your benefit, for not for your benefit.
Right.
They've got them.
But I can honestly say our relationship, I didn't care too much about protecting pretty much anything of it, because I said we're taking a holistic approach at healing, not just healing ourselves, but also healing those who are watching us.
Right.
Whoever we're engaging with. So I'm like, I'm not thinking about lawyers when it comes to me and you. I'm thinking about, hey, look, how can we benefit them and how can this benefit us? The win-win situation, or win-win-win.
Well, we'll open this discussion up a little.
Okay.
Just a little. So you're doing this show.
Yes.
And I'm doing this show.
Definitely.
I've got what I might call my people talking to me.
Yeah.
And you got your people talking to you. And then we kind of step away. Now, this is true in relationships, too. I don't think you should be dating that boy. I don't think you should be dating that girl. I mean, people just feed in to what is our, now wait a second. I'm trying to create habits that will cause me to succeed. I want to participate in relationships, but you're giving me a feed. Then you come back to this relationship, ours, let's say, and say a combination of what you filtered and processed. Here's how I feel. But you didn't feel that way before. You got all that input. Well, that input broadened my way of thinking, which is good. It's healthy. But what did you do with it? Because there was a time space in between the time that you received the information and the time that you responded to it. And that's where Covey's trying to park himself, is in between that space of, okay, hold on, before you move forward into a response, let's consider what it is that just came in the door.
Exactly.
And I'm the same way. I've got people that will be saying to me, well, this is this and this is that. And then I come back to you and I say, well, here's how I feel. So you present one idea and I present the other.
Exactly.
But you're of my desire, race and everything, because we agreed to it, race set to the side. That means that all is really there is the end in mind.
Yes.
And does the whole amount to more than the sum of the different parts?
Right. We both have an understanding of where we're trying to get to.
Synergy.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that same thought in mind, then, as I look at, where we're going, where we're trying to get to, I still need to understand you before I'm understood. So that seek to understand isn't a one-time deal. Because now I've got to go back because you've received new information and broaden your awareness of how you feel about what it is you're doing. And I'm just using that as an example. Then all of a sudden now I have to understand. I think, of course, you don't have to tell me what it is or who said or what said and how you thought about it and all that. But I need to seek to understand. So where are we today? Currently, and that's going to be a culmination of all the things that you've experienced and I've experienced while we're away from each other, coming back to this thought of synergy.
Right.
Yeah.
This also, he also talks about it later on within this chapter when it comes to families, when it comes to marriages.
Oh, yeah? In what regard?
Husband and wife, they have a hard time understanding this principle of how to effectively communicate.
Right.
Because the man could be right brain and the woman could be left brain.
Typically, true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she sees it from an emotional aspect. He sees it from a more logical aspect.
Right.
And even though their points, their feelings are valid, they have to take time to say, okay, what works best. And he gave a great example. He talked about, okay, his wife wanted to go to see her mother,
Right.
because she's sick, don't know when she's going to die. But he wanted to take the family on a fishing trip.
Yeah.
But they came to common ground and agreed to say, you know what, how about we go and see your mother, but we have our camping trip closer to where it's like, if you need to commute back and forth,
Right.
just to, balance the two, then we can work that out.
Okay, that would be considered.
Synergy.
Right. So in that regard, it's almost going back to win-win.
Yes.
It's always going back to seek first to understand.
Yes.
And then you start to get into the which one of us is being proactive. Well,
Yes.
both. Hopefully we're both being proactive with our own idea,
Right.
and then with the idea of synergy being the two. So, Rex, when you start to talk about how somebody creates and formulates their side of the synergy contribution, I've had some really bad traumas in my life.
A lot of people have. and
Yeah.
That's what stops them from going to that next level or being interdependent. They remain independent and they become complacent in some way. Yeah.
Well, I would agree with you,
Yeah.
and at the same time, those traumas almost not. I mean, they're very bad, but they always kind of like, because I came out of them,
Yeah.
and took time to understand them.
Yeah.
They strengthened me.
Right.
So I'm not going to thank them for that, but
I'll give you even a better example is talk about race.
okay.
Me,
fair enough.
I don't believe, let me put it like this, is I know that racism exists, but I've always been oblivious to it because I don't try to attract that energy to me.
So that's your choice.
Yeah, that's my choice. I don't project, negative things, about, Caucasian males and women. And it's vice versa. But what I want to get to is I've always wanted to understand how to heal from somebody else's pain that comes from my side of the field. So basically, my relatives, my peers, they hold on to pain from the past. And I understand, yes, slavery happened. Yes, I get it. But, you have a choice, chance, and 24 hours to make a difference within your life. You can change your paradigm. Not everybody here within this time has that energy of what was going on back then.
Right.
So I honestly don't respect racism, and I don't give it any attention.
It's an interesting term. I don't respect racism.
I don't. From either side, whether it be,
Sounds
whether it be, let's say I have a peer that, uses a derogatory term to, identify you. I don't play that. And at the same time, the N word, I don't play that either.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man. I'm not that. And I tell them the same thing. You know.
Right. It just sounds foul.
But, I feel like it's not even what I feel. It's a fact is that misery is more successful than positivity. Like the negative things of life have they're promoted by itself. Like it does so much more than the positives. People will bring up your problems more than they bring up your progress.
I would agree with you in the sense that you move through the misery.
Yeah.
And you don't own and claim and relive, and because then it's not misery anymore.
Yeah. I feel like people just like to hold on to things to use it as a crutch, and it stops them from moving forward.
Here's one of the things that I find culturally interesting for discussion.
Yeah.
As a black man or black woman, regardless of age and economic and where you are in society and things like that, you have a certain way of who you are. And honestly, I think it is different than the same characteristics if you're a white person. I think you express it differently than what I would express it. I don't feel that mine is better expression. I think that mine is a white person's expression.
Understood.
And I'm comfortable with that, you know? We both enjoy deviled eggs in and around Easter. Okay, well, yeah, that's common. Or we both enjoy, certain things that are common to both of us. But the way you experience it is the norm and comfort and beauty of what is a black culture. And the way that I experience mine is the same. It is the norm, it is the expression, it is the beauty as a white culture. I don't need to be you, you don't need to be me. And that doesn't mean that we're racist by saying you are different than me. Although we both like deviled eggs.
See,
as an example.
Exactly. I would prefer, melanated Americans to let go of the trauma. You can let go. It's like you can let go of anything else, but you want to hold on to this form of trauma, which is not making it. I would rather sit down how you and I are. I would rather them sit down and learn how to understand each other. Ask questions like, those uncomfortable conversations heal certain parts when, we take time to just listen. Listen to not respond. Listen to understand.
I agree. And I'll take it one step, and I don't know that it's the appropriate step.
Go ahead.
If I'm stepping backwards rather than forwards in the conversation.
Go ahead.
But my thought is, if I were a white woman raped by a black man, I might be more inclined to say, I hate all black men, I can't trust them. If I was a black man beaten up in an alley by a bunch of white guys slinging out slurs, I might feel the same way about white men as a black man. What do we do with that? Because we're saying these nice things of, oh yeah, you should listen, and yeah, everything should be.
So let me ask
yeah,
you.
but I mean, come on now.
So let me ask you this:
Fire away.
what if the races weren't opposite? What if a white man raped that white woman?
Okay, that's fine.
Would she hate every white man?
No, that's the irony.
Exactly.
That is the exact irony.
So what I'm getting to is
Same on black shooting,
Yeah, it's like, how are you going to hate them collectively when they all don't have the same characteristics? They all didn't do that to you.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to rape you. I'm not going to shoot you.
Yeah, like, if I got disrespected,
I might steal your money. No, just kidding.
if I got disrespected by a white man,
Yeah.
I don't think that all white men are bad, because I know some great white men.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you start to get into cultural norms,
People choose.
yes, they do.
They choose to be that way.
So we're in that Stephen Covey, the in between of this is the input, and now I have to choose how I'm going to respond.
Definitely.
The beauty is, and that's the private victory, we always have a choice. I mean,
A choice, a chance, in 24 hours. We all got the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So then how can anything we would say be helpful to our listening audience? And thank you everybody for listening to this conversation.
Oh, well, to answer your question, how could it be helpful? They have to want to be helped first. They have to want to be healed.
In the same way you have to want synergy.
Definitely.
Okay. Describe for me healing.
Healing? First, it's not easy first.
Tell me.
But healing starts with, first you have to be aware of who you are and what you have been entertaining or allowing into your life. You have to be accountable.
Your principles?
Yes. And then you have to take agency.
You have to what?
You have to take agency.
What do you mean by that?
Basically, you need to have a better plan. You have to be more intentional about, okay, when I go into this situation again, how am I going to respond to it?
Oh man, Rex, I'm getting out at the gas station. I'm in downtown Akron.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't feel comfortable. I mean, I'm looking at the convenience store, the people walking out of there.
Right.
They're walking out with malt liquors. I've got a bias about this whole picture.
Okay.
I've already framed up all of my, prejudices and past, inputs, and I'm calculating everything. And I'm thinking, I just want to get the gas, get the heck out of there. Apologize my whole way as I'm walking, backwards out of the building for things that I didn't do for whatever reasons of. Let's face it, there is a lot of civil discord around this topic.
So what I would ask you, what bothers you so much about
I think it's, and thank you, I don't mean to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, that was it.
I think it's that I have preconceived possibilities of threat levels.
There you go. See?
And these are the biases.
It's because you create a narrative in your mind.
Absolutely.
And I remember on one of the episodes I brought up, there's this coin that's called belief. One side is anxiety, other is anticipation. Anxiety is really you are focused on an unfavorable outcome.
Fear.
You are literally manifesting something negative to happen.
Absolutely right. But that's how I calculate my level of threat. I mean, when I was an artillery officer, I was with the maneuver element. I wasn't 18 miles back with the guns. I was there.
Yeah.
I had to throw stuff in front of us in order to make sure that we could move forward. Yeah. And so I had to assess, I've only got so many rounds. There's only 6 guns behind me. They can only fire so fast. How much do I need? Where? What's a priority for that? I'm going to take my biases. I'm also going to take what I've learned is a typical scenario and work my way backwards for that. And that's done in a split second. And all my prejudices, all the juice from my family, my culture, fall into that.
See, what you just stated was who your influence was. It wasn't in you when you were born.
No, absolutely.
It was taught.
No.
It was taught
God
to you. It's a difference between.
Absolutely.
It's a difference between something being in you and something that's being taught to you.
100% true.
And they don't literally have to say, "Hey, I want you to go out there. I want you to hate every black person." No.
Yeah.
It's just what they project. The same thing with whenever I travel from here to Texas. Every time I'll stop in Alabama, my family always tells me, "Don't stay in Alabama too long because And I'm like, first off,
there's history there.
I'm like, I know there's history, but do I care? No, okay, I don't, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this gas station. Nobody's going to intimidate me by how they feel about me, because I could care less about what you think about me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to carry myself as if I'm here in Ohio, respectfully, go in there, get what I need, and leave.
Right. I have honestly traveled.
It's a choice.
I've traveled a lot. It's always that choice. When I reached for the handle to get out to pump the gas, how I was going to feel about it was my choice. But I've done that in places like Georgia and the Deep South, knowing that I was a northerner, and I've got New Jersey plates on my car, and I'm thinking this could not go well, given the guys that were standing around looking, and they just look like they're all white guys, and it looks like they're looking for trouble. And I'm sitting there thinking, damn, if I might want to go to another gas station.
You know what's different about that situation?
No, what?
Is when somebody that looks like you knows where you stand at on the ladder.
Yeah.
That's when I can tell you this, it's always your own people that will come for you first.
Right.
Than someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Because if you went to a gas station that I would normally go to, just you as yourself, they would either think that you are the manager, the owner, or just a regular white guy that's coming through. And are they going to bother you? No. If anything, they probably might try to, hustle you something. But are they going to bother you? No.
Okay. I can give you that latitude in this conversation.
For sure.
Sure. Yeah. In the same vein, when I'm sitting there saying, I don't know if I want to spend my money. I don't know if I want to get into a business relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
He's Jewish. He's Oriental. He's, Muslim. I'm a Christian. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things in all of those 3 cultures. But I've got to function inside society.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to be in a society that's all white people. I don't know that that's needed. I think that variety offers a lot of beauty to it.
So in order for us to synergize, basically to become one, to be, to work together, we can't respect the surface. We have to respect the internal, which is the mind and the heart. I respect your mind. I respect your thoughts, your opinions. Okay, your viewpoint. You know,
Right.
I may not agree with certain things, but how can we work around this? How can we make this a win-win situation?
I can't begin to tell you how many times an elderly or middle-aged black woman has just made me smile from inside my heart, made me laugh, and it's because of who they were
Exactly.
as a black woman. I would not want her to be a white woman. She's a beautiful expression of who she is, and she happens to also be a black woman. So maybe that's because in my upbringing, John F. Kennedy had done the busing in New Jersey. They took it pretty seriously, and I was bused to the black community, and I was in their schools, and their schools were unquestionably less of a caliber of performance and education than the white schools that were available for white children. So did I get less than an education? No, I got a different kind of education. And for that reason, for life, I got a better education.
See, paradigm.
I got chased home from school on it, but that's okay.
See, your paradigm changed.
Oh, you're right.
Exactly.
That is the paradigm shift. Yeah.
So it's very important for us to really put our ego, our pride, and our fear to the side to understand what we don't understand.
Well, I would agree with you.
In order for
Everything we've talked about takes a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Do you think that, how can we help people to understand the value of taking the time to consider these 7 habits, of which we're at 6? So in closing, what are your thoughts? What would you like to help people to challenge themselves towards synergy?
I challenge you to not judge those around you, because how you judge the world is how you see yourself. Work on you, and what you become is what you will attract, what you intend to attract. So that's what I challenge our guests to do, is work within. If you want peace, if you want prosperity, if you want success, if you want love, you have to be it.
You got to be it.
Yes, you have to live it.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
For me, my analogy would be a little bit more on the sports side, if you allow me this luxury. It's as though you're in a hockey game and you've got the puck. You can pass it over to your wing person because they've got a better angle to take the shot, keeping the end in mind.
Yes.
Looking for the win-win. How can I use the other players on the field, the other people in my life, allowing them to give me input, but I'm still the one with the puck. I get to decide where that goes. If I look at the upper left-hand corner and that goalie's shoulder is low, and I'm thinking I can easily do a wrist shot in that upper left-hand corner, but Jerry is over on the side of the goalie and can just tap it in if I pass it to him. And wouldn't that be good for Jerry? Wouldn't that be good for the team? Because we practiced this.
Definitely.
This is what we wanted. We wanted to share the puck around and together get it into the goal. So there's a lot to be considered when we're talking about our race
Yes.
and our synergy, business to business, nonprofit to nonprofit, church to church, spirituality, emotional. There's always a synergy involved. And that's the challenge for all of us. I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of The Voice of Families and Addiction and our review of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Thank you, Rex, for joining us for today's show.
Salute.
That was a good one.